The province of Saskatchewan and the American state of Montana have just announced a new partnership, a $270 million carbon capture and storage project, an ambitious initiative intended to create cleaner and greener energy infrastructure in both jurisdictions. Premier Brad Wall and State Governor Brian Schweitzer, there you see them both as they join me from Regina. Nice to see you, Governor. Welcome to our broadcast. Premier Wall, nice to have you back. Premier, I know you believe a lot in carbon sequestration, but have you now found someone else to do your work for you? It sounds as though that might be the case.
We're gonna share an equal yoke here in this exciting project between our two jurisdictions, and frankly, we're going to be advocating to our respective national governments that they become real partners. We know the Obama administration has a carbon capture allocation in the stimulus package. So our federal government has investment available, and I'm very excited about this project. We're at the very early stages. There's a lot of work, a lot of due diligence to come, but what's at stake is the chance to actually do something about the issue that everyone else is talking about, and that's reducing carbon and ensuring we have sustainable and affordable energy for a growing economy.
Well, Governor, there is a test project in Saskatchewan down south of Regina, but do you have any experience in carbon sequestration in your state, or are you just getting into it now?
We're just getting into it now. The federal government has been financing something called the Big Sky Sequestration Project at Montana State University, and they have identified geologic structures all across Montana that would store CO2 for long periods of time. We already know that we have storage areas that would store more than 160 years of the CO2 that we're currently producing in Montana. So the time for talking is over. And of course, I know in Ottawa and Washington, D.C., they're masters at talking about things. But in the states, we deliver. And same with provinces. We deliver. In Saskatchewan and Montana, the center of the most important energy corridor on the planet, we have coal, oil, gas, uranium, wind, solar power. We will deliver the energy for North America, so we have the responsibility of finding solutions for CO2.
Okay, so Premier, you're going to what? Take the CO2 generated in Saskatchewan and somehow transport it to Montana, where it will be shot down into the ground, basically. Is there technology first to capture it and transport it to Montana? How's that going to work?
Well, there is. It's sort of the reverse of the project you've referenced earlier, Don, already underway, where CO2 from Beulah, North Dakota is used for enhanced oil recovery and storage on the Saskatchewan side of the border. This arguably is even more important from an innovation standpoint, because what it will do is it'll capture the CO2 from an existing coal generation plant on our side of the border that is operated by SaskPower, our crown utility, and then that CO2 will be sequestered on the Montana side. We've talked a little bit about, there's actually a number of, well, there's two choices in terms of which plant. We're going to build the project that makes most sense in terms of the distance to transport and generally the efficacy of the sequestration.
Well, Governor, how do people, I mean, in between Ontario and Michigan, there's a deal where garbage from Ontario is buried in Michigan, and people in Michigan, by and large, don't think much of that deal. So how do the good people of Montana, how are they going to react with CO2 coming in from Canada, from Saskatchewan, buried in the ground and in their rock formation?
Well, the CO2 is already coming to Montana from Canada and from Montana to Canada. CO2 emitted from a smokestack goes into the atmosphere and affects the entire world. A lot of people don't understand that CO2 is not like arsenic or mercury or something else. Every time you breathe in, take a deep breath, a small portion of what you were just breathing in is CO2, and when you breathe out, there will be CO2 that you exhale. What we have is concentrated levels of CO2 that we will pump deep in the earth that will store it geologically for millions of years. We know that we can do that because all over the Rocky Mountain West, there are pure deposits of CO2 that have been stored for millions of years. So if the good Lord can do it, we think we can.
What's this going to cost, Premier, and how much is Saskatchewan's share?
Sure. We have an estimate right now of about $270 million Canadian, and of course that number is getting a little bit less relative to the U.S. dollar, but obviously there's still a difference there. The province of Saskatchewan has allocated up to $50 million. We're hoping to get $100 million from our national government, and again, there will be hopefully some support from the Obama administration's stimulus package as well.
So, Governor, when you say you hope the federal and the Canadian federal government get involved, are you prepared to take CO2 from other places, or can Montana and Saskatchewan fill up the available space you have for storage?
Montana has 30% of the coal in America. We have almost 10% of the coal on the planet. And so we will be continuing to produce the energy for all of North America, and it's going to be much easier, much safer, much cleaner to store the CO2 close to where the coal is mined. So we know that we will be developing new energy resources, but we've got to get this CO2 correct. We don't need to bring CO2 from outside the region, but there will be a regional cooperation much the same way as we have with oil pipelines, gas pipelines, and transmission lines. You would be surprised to find the level of cooperation between Montana and Saskatchewan. And I'm not going to speak for Brad, but I can tell you in Montana we'd rather work with Saskatchewan than we would a bunch of those states out on the East Coast.
Okay, well, boy, funny how the two countries are kind of alike, isn't it, Brad Wall? But anyway, let me just very quickly say to you, Brad Wall, this process really works better for coal than it does for oil, doesn't it? And I guess that's why you're down around Beanfate and Estevan, where you have the coal-fired power plant and the coal mines, and that's really what you're working on, not oil production. Is that right?
I think that's fair, Don. I mean, we're much closer to cleaning up coal than we are in terms of a potential application of this to capturing CO2 from oil extraction or development. However, I think that's what will be next. That's what can be next. We need to begin, and we're going to start now. This is a generational opportunity. We will be able to, I believe, create a technology that the world is going to be interested in, and the applications will reach beyond coal. I believe that. But we're going to start. Montana and Saskatchewan and our national governments, we hope we're going to start.
Well, gentlemen, I thank you very much for this. Unfortunately, we have to stop. Time goes too quickly. But okay. Thank you for coming on the program. Governor,
Don,
nice to meet you.
If I don't get on the show, let me just wish you very well in your retirement. You will be sorely missed by Canadians and those of us who have been following politics for a long time and following you for a long time.
Brad Wall, you're a very kind man. Thank you, sir. Talk to you again, though, I hope.